Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. In today's video we are going to talk about the Reformation. Before I get started, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and share with all your friends. It's free and you can always change your mind next time. All of these pictures in this video don't belong to me, they all belong to the rightful owner. Here I have inserted the units of study timeline. This units of study timeline starts in the 1300s and goes all the way to the 1800s. You can see in this orange colored box we have the Renaissance, and in this time the Renaissance lasted about a good 300 years. And in the last video we went a lot into depth in talking about the Renaissance, so make sure I'll link that video down in the description box below, so make sure you go watch that video. We have the Reformation happening at literally kind of like the same time as like after the Reformation started growing a little bit. And we also have the Exploration, the Scientific Revolution, and then the Enlightenment way after all of this stuff had happened. So the Renaissance is really important to the Reformation, and really anything else, the Exploration, Scientific Revolution, and the Enlightenment, is because the Renaissance had like planted the idea of humanism. And you can see it grow in the Reformation, Exploration, Scientific Revolution, and Enlightenment. During the Reformation, a lot of people were like agreeing and disagreeing about different topics, which led to wars and like different massacres and stuff like that. So you can kind of see how all of this really important, like debateful things happened during the Reformation, and why was it so important that it really is a good base in where we are today. How do we take care of all of these problems that were happening during this time? What was the Reformation? The Reformation is a time period to reform the Catholic Church. It was split in half. And I put the phrase split in half in quotations because it literally wasn't split in half into like two buildings. It was split into like two groups of people, the Protestants and the Catholics. And this is because some people protested because they didn't feel happy about the church and its decisions. So the church was making some decisions that a lot of people didn't really agree with, which led to a lot of like massacres and wars, not really like wars, but like a lot of battles and like other things, like a lot of violent things that people didn't really like. These people were known as Protestants because they protested to create a new religion. So all of these Protestants, they wanted to like change the church. They said that, okay, this isn't a really good idea. Let's change this. So before we get started into what they did to change it, we're going to talk about some of the decisions that the church made that the Protestants had to take action. Some of the decisions that the church made were simony. Simony is buying and selling positions in the Catholic Church. That's like, okay, I'm gonna pay you like $15,000. You can come and be the supreme head of the Catholic Church. Because I don't want to be it anymore. That is obviously not something that you're supposed to be doing. That it all depends on the right people. To pick and choose who's going to be depending upon who they are as a person, who they're gonna like go into this position. So this was like a really big thing, simony. A lot of people were really, really against it, which was really important during this time. Nepotism is sharing important jobs, power, and positions with your family relatives in the Catholic Church. This is kind of the same thing as simony, but you're just like doing it amongst you and your family and thing and other people, like your relatives, like sharing power, which and jobs, which you're not supposed to do because each individual has a different job during this time. And if you share different things, it's not really fair to other people who would like to also have this immense power, these important jobs and stuff like that. Indulgences. This was a huge one that people really hated, which is why the Protestants were like, okay, we need to take action because of these indulgences. So indulgences is a piece of paper that makes it possible for you to get to heaven if you have done a few sins quicker. You collect indulgences from the Catholic Church by doing a good work. Good work meaning like helping someone and stuff like that. So, if you have committed a few sins in your life and you're also doing some good works, you can collect a piece of paper that you can bring with you to heaven after you die and then show that paper that you can get to heaven quicker. A lot of people were really like skeptical about this idea. People were like, "Wait, can this really happen?" So this was like a really big thing that the Protestants were like, okay, yes, we need to take action on this. This is not a good thing for us. The Protestant Church and the Catholic Church, the two groups that were divided. So the Protestant Church was very simple. They had no art. They wore simple clothes, and they were all in vernacular and not in Latin. And the Catholic Church was very decorated. It had lots of artwork and sculptures and statues. The priests were very expensive and rich clothes. And mostly everything is in Latin, like the Mass is in Latin. Really, so that's really the difference between the Protestant Church and the Catholic Church. We're going to talk about a few different reformers now. This reformer is Martin Luther. You might recognize this name from Martin Luther King Jr. No, they are not related in any blood relation. Martin Luther King Jr. actually actually learned about this Martin Luther and changed his name to Martin Luther because he was so inspired by this Martin Luther's things that he did in his career. So Martin Luther is a German monk. He's a doctor of theology, and a doctor of theology is a person who has completed extensive studies of religion and its role in society. He's a strict Christian, and he has a lot of background knowledge on the church. He didn't like the idea of selling indulgences at all. So what he did is that he went to Wittenberg and he wrote 95 statements, 95 arguments. These are called the 95 Theses. He wrote 95 arguments on why he didn't like the idea of selling indulgences. And then he nailed them. As you can see in my title slide here, this is his 95 arguments that he wrote, and he literally nailed it to the door, to the church door, to the Catholic Church in Wittenberg. These arguments were about how it was not right to sell the indulgences. The next reformer that we're going to talk about is John Calvin. John Calvin, he read Luther's 95 arguments, and then because he read all of these arguments, he became a Protestant. He was like, okay, yeah, whatever this guy is saying that this is right, I'm going to become a Protestant. And he's from France, John Calvin, but he fled to Switzerland in Geneva because King Francis I, the king at this time, was he was killing all of the Protestants that were there. So then he went to Switzerland. So he built a college, like a seminary, and that taught people to become priests, ministers, and etc. He also taught something called Calvinism, like these ideas that you are predestined to go to heaven or hell before birth. The favored go to heaven, and the cursed go to hell. The only sacrament, which is like a ritual, that's baptism. And like regular normal people run the church. You don't need to be like really fancy to run the church. Anybody can really run the church if you have this knowledge. Another reformer that we have here, I'm sorry about that. Here we have our next reformer, which is Henry VIII. Henry VIII is known as the defender of the faith, and his problem is that he wanted a male heir to his throne. So, his wife was his first wife, Catherine of Aragon. She didn't give Henry VIII a son, so Henry VIII wanted to divorce her. But this was not allowed at this time. That rarely happened, like any divorces. So nobody was allowing him to divorce himself with his wife, Catherine of Aragon. So he called a few people and he brought everything together. He played a few cards, and he declared himself the supreme head of the Church of England. So he did that, which was a really big thing at this time. Like, this was like a huge huge news. Everyone knew about this. So that is how Henry VIII that's his part in the Reformation. A little bit of background information on Henry VIII. He married 6 times. His first wife was Catherine of Aragon. Then he married Anne Boleyn. Then Jane Seymour. Then Anne of Cleves, Catherine Howard, and Catherine Parr. He finally had a son from Jane Seymour, but she died from giving birth to her son, so he had to marry again. After that, he married 3 more times. So, a lot of people know about Henry VIII. He had a lot of drama in his life, which, was very weird, actually. But the way that he, played those cards and he declared himself the supreme head of the Church of England really was a huge impact on the Reformation. You can kind of see here that I've inserted this picture from the internet of Henry VIII's early family tree. So his parents is Henry VII and Elizabeth of York. And then they had Henry VIII. Henry VIII married to Catherine of Aragon, divorced her, married Anne Boleyn. But she died. She was beheaded. And then Jane Seymour, who died after giving birth. Anne of Cleves, who Henry had divorced. Catherine Howard and Catherine Parr. From Catherine of Aragon, he had Mary I. From Anne Boleyn, he had Elizabeth I. And from Jane Seymour, he had Edward VI. So you can kind of see here that from Mary I, she married Philip II of Spain, and you can kind of see that this was like the early family tree. Now we're going to talk about something that was like a huge, like a turn back, like a U-turn in the Reformation. This is called the CounterReformation. The CounterReformation is a time where to fix the Catholic Church and to stop the spread of Protestantism. Sorry, I can't say that word. Let me know in the comments how you pronounce this word, Protestantism. think that's how you say it. So, to stop this spread, basically there was the Counter-Reformation to fix the Catholic Church. So the results of the Counter-Reformation is Europe being divided. And you can see in this map here that the orange is the Roman Catholics. We have Portugal, Spain, Italy, Ireland, and then the Netherlands, France, Switzerland. All of those orange spots are from our Roman Catholic. And then we have Lutheran in Norway, Sweden, Germany, the Holy Roman Empire, Denmark, all those places. We have Calvinist over here in this like little chunk of like France, a little bit in Switzerland. Church of England, in England, the Henry VIII. Eastern Orthodox, Muslim, mixed Roman Catholic. This is all like mixed. Everybody's like mixed over here in Poland. And we have Calvinist and Muslim over here. So Europe was divided like this, and basically because of all this, like where all like the different countries are divided, there were a lot of religious wars and persecution. There was also new different types of art and architecture, and education was a huge thing too. Now we're going to quickly review what we just talked about. So we talked a little bit about the Counter-Reformation, where it was time to fix the Catholic Church and stop the spread of Protestantism. We talked about three reformers, Henry VIII, John Calvin, and Martin Luther. We talked a little bit about the Reformation and the starting of the Reformation, and we talked about when the Reformation takes place. If you like this video, then don't forget to subscribe and share and hit the like button. See you guys next time. Bye!